Coming to order at 6 o'clock. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the agenda is consideration of the proposed appointment of the interim chief.
So, board members, before you have Peter McGowan for consideration for appointment as interim police chief of the town of Upton. Chief McGowan has 30 years worth of experience, worked his way up through the Millis police force from a patrolman on to police chief, and then most recently served as the police chief for Dover before retiring in 2023. He's the candidate that came out of a selection process with not only Chief Michael Bradley, but also myself, Dennis Westgate, John Westerland, as a selection committee, and was the clear candidate that came through that we felt would be the best fit for our department and lead us through this process that we're going to be undertaking for a permanent police chief, which that's going to take 4 or 5 months to go through. So invited Peter here to be able to introduce himself and answer some questions from the board if you happen to have any.
Would you like to make any comments?
I'm just thrilled for the opportunity. I've known Chief Bradley since I got involved with Mass Chiefs probably 12 years ago, and it's been great watching him come up, and we're pretty similar in philosophies and styles, and I've worked at small departments my whole career, so I think it's a no-brainer to come here and pull the place together until the next time comes in.
Sounds good. Philosophy and style, I think, is important, as well as Chief Bradley's recommendation. That means the world to us. Do you have any questions or comments?
No, just welcome aboard.
Brett?
Appreciate it. Glad to hear.
Yes, welcome aboard. We're about to take a vote. Yeah. Do I hear a motion?
Go ahead, Maureen, please.
Oh, I gotta read it, I'm along.
Just waiting from the network.
Move that the select board vote pursuant to section 4A, section I of the town managers act. Oh, that's not the motion.
Right here.
Oh, and approve or deny the town. Oh, no, it is.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah. Put the waiver, 15 days on that. To waive the 15-day right of refusal and approval or denial to the town manager appointments of Peter McGowan as interim police chief. Town.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimously approved. Thank you. We look forward to working with you. Next is consideration of proposed appointment of interim director of public safety for fire EMS and town manager.
Yeah, so we're bringing on more Chief McGowan because our Chief Mike Bradley is retiring effective August 16th. In talking to Chief Bradley when he first announced that he would be retiring, we've had a lot of discussions for the last couple of months as far as not only his role as police chief, but also as public safety director, because that is something that is unique within the Commonwealth. Not many towns have that. And as the board has had discussions with myself and Chief Bradley, and it is unique and it really is representative of the people that we have here in Upton. And thinking about giving us the time and the space to do the police chief search, Chief Bradley has agreed to stay on an interim capacity to really interface more with the fire and EMS side, which is that component of the public safety director position that looking at having in cases. Basically think of all the stuff that he did for the public safety. Cut off the police stuff. That's the stuff he still would end up doing for fire, helping with administrative personnel issues as well as their budget, because we are going to be going into the next budget season probably before we have police chief on. And when we select a police chief, we're gonna need some time to figure out exactly what that means for fire, depending on the candidate, some other direction. And Chief Bradley has agreed to stay with us for a period of time to give us that time to figure things out and to develop a plan as relates to fire.
Well, personally, I'd love to keep our hooks in you forever, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Do you have any comments, Brett?
No, I just want to affirm that, the fire chief's been part of all these conversations and is
Yes.
aware of the plan and comfortable.
Yes.
We're going in the direction of that.
That's one of the things that we had to sit down between the three of us, just to talk about things and what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Because also that conversation, as even while we're going through that search process.
Yeah.
We're still gonna be having conversations on what we're gonna be needing. Is it existing personnel? Because we're gonna be going through and starting development of the FY 26 budget. So we need to start to have these discussions really, starting once he gets back from vacation.
Yeah.
But really over the fall as we start developing that, because without structure to what that looks like, how do we then make any changes as part of that FY 26 budget?
That's right. Perfect. Great. That's all. Thank you.
Maureen, any comments?
Well, I'd like to thank Chief Bradley for staying on board to help us through this process. And I hear you're only down the street. I hear you're only down the street.
I am only 4 miles away from Mass Street, so it'll be easy to find.
And better yet, we know where you live.
And you know what?
We're not driving all the way to Grafton.
You'll see the three of us peering through the
Yeah,
window.
standing in the road at the melt.
Yeah, exactly.
More importantly, my neighbor, the fire chief, knows where to find me as well.
That's true too. And that's probably why it's been such a wonderful relationship. You guys are literally right there. So do I hear a motion, Brett?
Yes, you sure do. I move that the select board vote pursuant to section 4A subsection I of the Town Manager Act to waive the 15-day right of refusal and approve the town manager's appointment of Michael Bradley as interim director of public safety for fire EMS services to the town of Upton.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously approved.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, so C, approval to submit and accept public safety grant and emergency 911 grant.
Move over here so we can go through these grants. In your package should have a memo regarding this year's grants. And we'll start with the 911 support consent grant. This is a grant for $266,615, which we've applied for, and I do expect to receive that within the next week or so. And that, what that does, it covers personnel wage reimbursement, which is built into our budget line item for about $205,000 for wage reimbursement. The rest of it is equipment, it's MDTs for a couple of police cars and software, including panic button for the schools, our IMC CAD software for the police department, and also the software for the fire department. So that's all included in that grant. The next grant is our 911 training grant, and that is approximately $45,000. And that covers training for all of our 911 dispatchers. They receive 32 hours of in-service training under that grant. It also pays for new part-time or full-time dispatchers that come on to go through their certification training. The next grant is the state 911 EMD grant. That's a $2,000 grant that pays for our IntelliCom software. It's basically automated guide cards for our dispatchers when they go through medical calls. It guides them to ask all the appropriate questions. So all of that is covered under the 911 grant, and we expect to receive those amounts. Now, the fourth grant is a regional development grant, and this is a grant that we've applied for, and we've received partial funding. So I applied for $554,000 to upgrade our radio system, repeater systems, actually add 2 repeaters, microwave links, to strengthen our signal and take care of some of the tough areas that we have in town. So they awarded us $439,465 under the grant.
leaving approximately 114,000 that we would have to pay for to finish that project. So I'm proposing that we take that to the fall town meeting for approval to complete this project. And then the grant in that amount of money will be able to complete this.
Okay. Any questions?
Seems like a no-brainer to me.
It's
Awesome.
awesome.
Agreed. Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I move that the select board vote to authorize the submission and acceptance of the FY 25 state 911 support. The FY 25 state 911 training grant, the FY 25 state 911 EMD grant, and the FY 25 state 911 development.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
It's about $750,000 worth of grant money that does come out of town funds. So,
Beautiful.
Huge number.
Yes,
thank you.
we appreciate that. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
It was nice to meet you. Looking forward to working together. Thank you.
How do you find someone writing a successful test?
Yeah.
Acceptance of a donation for Director of Elder and Social Services.
Okay, so the Upton Fire EMS Association provided a unsolicited gift of $500 to the Elder and Social Services Department. And this was used to fund the Upton Senior Center Ice Cream Truck Social that had occurred back on July 23rd. Need to have that accepted and recognized.
Do I hear a motion?
I move that the select board vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 53A, to accept the donation to the Town of Upton Department of Elder and Social Services from the Upton Fire and EMS Association in the amount of $500 to fund the Upton Senior Center Ice Cream Truck Social.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
And thank you very much to the Upton Fire and EMS Association. That was a great gift.
It was because if I recall, it was during that service retreat we had, which ended yesterday and now I'm wearing a jacket. So, okay, so next, execution of quitclaim deeds for Azalea Lane.
We don't get paid for it.
Yeah.
Is this
I'm still talking about Azalea Lane. I think this started before I was first elected for my first term.
It's been going on for like 10 years. It's been
So-
forever.
I'm just saying that I know this seems like it's been going on for a long time.
No, I think it's not
It's
seen.
not first. Yeah.
Yes, it's, you weren't here.
Have the roads deteriorated at all?
Thankfully, this is.
Yeah, should we have a
thankfully,
mill
we
and
just
overlay?
have- Thankfully, we did just have town meeting that then authorizes, so here is the final language. We had to go back and look through records to make sure it lined up, votes with planning board and conservation. So we have the final documents, and yes, compared to what was in the board's packet, it did indicate July, and I did ref the date, or at least the month, so that at least we are signing in the month of August. So.
That works.
Aye.
So next is execute.
We gotta,
Do we have to sign that or make a
Let's
motion?
make a motion. Do you,
Excuse
you
me.
got it in front of you?
Good. If you have it, Maureen, I'm 3 or 4 pages behind. Okay, go ahead.
the whole thing, the 2 paragraphs, move that the board execute the quitclaim deed for accepting the right of way for Azalea Lane, including drainage easements as depicted on the plan entitled layout plan Azalea Lane, J.R. Estates, Upton, Mass, scale 1 inch equals 40 feet, date April 12th, 2024, prepared by Gary and Hellman Incorporated. 1029 Providence Road, Whitensville, Mass. 01588, recorded in the Worcester Registry of Deeds in Plan Book 977, Plan 52, the plan at the Worcester District Registry of Deeds.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I should have said you could probably just move to approve the motions as printed in the board's packet.
Why'd you make me read it, Bob?
Yeah, after all that.
Now that we're.
I realized halfway through.
Now that I'm all done.
We wanted to hear.
So, oh, look at this
So, and
already.
then there's the second one because
Right.
they're open
Just
space
in
referencing different documents. And there are two, there are then the two deeds that then need the board to sign and one member to come tomorrow to have Kathleen Byrne notarize their signature.
I can be in tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow. Okay, great. So, is that finally to bed? Or do we
Well, we
need
need to do
another
the second motion.
I'm looking for it. I'm in the deeds.
I move that the board
you.
execute the quitclaim deed for accepting the open space parcel to be held under the care and custody of the Conservation Commission depicted on a set of plans entitled J.R. Estates A, Definitive Open Space Development in Upton, Massachusetts. Date September 3rd, 2010. Last revision, April 11th, 2012, prepared by Goyer and Hamlin, Inc., Milford, Mass., recorded on September 18th, 2012, and Plan Book 896, Plan 83 at the Worcester District Registry of Deeds.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I
Unanimous? See, it really was.
Each sticky is for signature page, so
Okay, do you want me to wait to sign till tomorrow so she can notarize?
it's you, but then
Okay,
have,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're off and running to the execution of the state primary election warrant. Are you taking care of that, Phil, or is Denise?
She didn't sign the issue, so.
Oh, nice.
Pretty straightforward here. The Commonwealth has the primary election coming up on September 3rd. It's going to be, polling location will be Nipmuc Regional High School, and polls will open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
You're writing, I can make the motion.
That's great.
I move that the board vote to execute the warrants for fall primary election to be held on Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., both to be held at the Nipmuc Regional High School Gymnasium, 90 Pleasant Street, Upton, Mass., and to direct that the constable post said warrant forthwith.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
And then there's 4 copies for the board.
We have approval of a speed limit sign request for West River Road. Chief Bradley, I believe that's you.
We did receive a request for speed signs on West River Street. Both myself and the DPW director reviewed those and approved those to be adding to 30 mile an hour speed limit zones in the area near the soccer field through that section. We'll identify the exact locations. The DPW is ready to do that.
Okay.
Where all the tire marks are.
Somewhere in that location. Yeah, as you can see, we do have some challenges down there.
Yes, you do.
I have to say, I have a house
It's all-
listed in Northbridge on Prairie, and it's a little hairy going to and fro.
But there's just like some gaps, right, where like there's just not a lot of residences and people feel like, hey, it's open, nobody can see me, the road is straight. Let's do a smoke show.
Or let's just
Or let's
play with our
Yeah.
radio and almost take people out head on, which is
Well,
always exciting.
I was coming into West River, taking a right. The fella behind me, and I guess I wasn't going fast enough on me. He passed me before I even made the turn. Going up over that hill, I just prayed to God there wasn't a car coming.
Coming the other way.
That whole section is very challenging, especially during commute time.
Yes.
Too fast. So
And I imagine it's going to be worse with the paving of Pleasant Street.
yes.
The printer.
So definitely.
Um, I didn't realize until, like I said, I was going on a quite regular basis over to soccer mountain. So it's been exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Do we need a motion?
Yeah, I move that the board vote to post 30 mile per hour speed limit signs as reviewed and recommended by the DPW director and the public safety director / police chief.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. And Joe went to get something off the printer, so we will wait for him to return. That fast you can run.
Yeah. I got more positive feedback, chief, about the signs that say thank you when people go to see
Oh, I love those
coming,
signs.
coming into town, coming into West Upton Center, coming,
Yeah.
like there's some, it's
It
not,
has
it's not,
stopped people from crawling into the rear end, but I just like to thank you.
it's not for everybody, but
That's
there's
slowed down
really like,
some of the traffic.
I think that's good to know.
The people that aren't paying attention to the speed, it gives them a reminder to slow down.
slow down
Okay.
traffic, which sometimes slows down, to your point, people behind them like, oh, wait a minute, just sort of. takes-
And I did notice, because of course living on Grove Street, and somebody crawled right up my rear end. Sign was flashing at him, and he backed up. I was like, ooh, a success.
I'm seeing some slowing of,
Yeah, so
Traffic.
the next step now that's been up for a while is to download some of the data from those. So we can take a look at what the average speeds are.
so you'll be able to see how it's trending.
That's interesting.
It does traffic counts too.
Does, so it'll count the number of vehicles that it picks up anyway.
Yeah.
It'll give you the average speed. So there's some useful data that comes out of there as well.
It's gonna be
That'd
fascinating.
be really
The
cool to see
average
if you
speed.
see it,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, even the ones that we have the ability to get traffic counts and the average speed. So sometimes we can put those out in covert mode too. You can't see nothing displayed. But it's actually going to pick up the speed, so you can get
Right,
an
just
actual
get data.
picture of
What people
what
do.
the speeds really are. Sometimes they'll lower than
The perception, right,
perception.
right. You see one car going too fast, and you think, man, people are flying down this road, but it might just be anecdotal. It's one car.
So in our next round of municipal road grants, we put in for a couple more of those signs.
Okay.
So I would imagine at a future meeting, we may be looking for some money for installation costs. So we'll identify some other challenging areas.
How many do you, oh,
I will next year.
how many do you have altogether?
So we have 4 of the permanent signs that went up recently.
Yeah.
So one's on 140 Harvard Avenue North. And then we have 2 of the portable ones that we. Anytime we receive complaints from neighborhoods, we try to put them out there for a week. And we also have a system where we assign officers to different streets based on traffic counts, complaints, and accidents. So things are.
Thank you. Joe, you're up for your report.
Okay. So that's what I was getting. Didn't realize I didn't bring it up. People, I'm sure, have seen that our DPW crew has started paving out at Pleasant Street from the Northbridge Town Line to Maple Ave. This is the section, especially the bridge that crosses over the river right there, right by Glen Ave. That's been in rough shape. It's good to have this work being done. It's being sort of squeezed in right before school starts, and it should be done by the beginning of next week. Following that, DPW is then going to be working on the other section of Pleasant Street from Mendon Street to Main Street. That, unfortunately, we couldn't time it so that it happened before school started. But we're coming in at only the first 2 weeks of August. It should be done by the end of August, before the Labor Day weekend, weather dependent, of course. There are some catch bases that have to be repaired and some other things that need to be done before they can come in and mill, but they're going to start doing that work this week. Dennis has provided a list of all the streets they're going to be working on that, and they include, but not limited to Mendon Street, Fowler Street, Cass Street, Chestnut. We're going to post the full list of streets that are going to be worked on. There may be additional, depending on where we come out from budget, there may be some additional work that he does. But this will give a good idea for people what we're doing with the authorizations for paving from annual town meetings that have occurred over the last year and a half.
And we may not know the answer to this question, and if not, that's okay, but that list, is that for this construction season, or does that cover us, like, there'll be potentially some carryover?
There might be some carryover depending on time.
Okay, that's like, sort of like, they'll get as much of it done as they can. If they can't get it all done, they do have time in the spring to,
Exactly.
before July 1.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So coming up on August 28th, Mass Department of Transportation is holding a virtual public hearing. There's a culvert that is just east of the gas station, formerly known as Gasco, right at before the hill starts going up, going eastbound. That culvert replacement is scheduled for 2026, and we're going to have it posted on our website. That's here in my town manager report that will also post with the link to then sign up to be part of that public hearing. This is a singular culvert replacement project. The board may recall that we have the 140 project, and then the next project on this report is the 140 resurfacing project that will go from basically William Street westward into Grafton, and then we'll pick back up at Elm Street and then continue to the Oakdale. It will skip over this culvert section. That project, according to the state's website, has been given a notice to proceed, and it says that they're going to be starting construction imminently. I haven't received word yet, although, have you received any call for recording details?
The culvert.
No, for the repaving.
I don't know.
Okay. So still have another month left of summer, but that is something that is imminently coming forward. On Monday, August 12th, the planning board is holding an MBTA Communities Public Outreach Meeting. This is going to be at the community center at 7 o'clock. The Director of Land Use Inspection Services, Mike Antonellis, was successful in getting grant funding to retain a consultant to help the planning board develop its plan to comply with MBTA communities. Just as a very quick refresher, this is something that has been controversial over the last year, with some towns approving and some towns that have not approved at town meeting getting some press. For the town of Upton, MBTA, to comply with MBTA communities, we have to zone an area that would allow for 150 units. That is something that is doable. It is a good number, but compared to some communities that are looking at 750 or over 1,000, this is something manageable, and the planning board has been with the consultant looking at how they can come into compliance. So again, that's going to be Monday, August 12th. Also coming up, August 21st is the next ZBA meeting for the Upton Apartments 40B. At this meeting, public hearing has been closed, so this is a deliberation session. They're going to be reviewing draft decision for that 40B. We already signed the primary warrant. Again, the primary is going to be on September 3rd. Elder and Social Services has seen significant increase in the use of their of the bus. There's been anecdotal information that there's a lot of new people that have moved into Millhouse, and they are fully taking advantage of the bus to get to the community center for services and programs. So they're seeing a significant increase in transportation. Also, August 21st is National Senior Citizens Day. So the senior center is going to be having some programs on that day, encouraging people to stop by. And Senator Ryan Fatman will start holding office hours the first Wednesday of each month, starting in September. And lastly, at one of the most recent select board meetings, we appointed 3 members to the COA, and their first meeting with sort of their newly reconstituted board is coming up on Monday, the 19th. Treasurer's office wanted me to pass along that sewer bills have been mailed out and will be due September 12th. And also that the treasurer's office is doing their annual trainings. They're going to be at UMass taking classes next week. So they're going to have some reduced hours, and that's going to be posted on the website as well as in their office. We will have not only part-time staff, but also senior tax work office at least being there to be able to answer the phone, take messages. Recreation, just a reminder, Wednesday, August 28th is the Grafton Upton Mendon takeover of Polar Park. I have a link here, and we're going to put it up on the town's website with a direct link for access to tickets. And that's also going to be First Responders Appreciation Day on that same day at Polar Park. The library is finishing up their Read Around Town. It's a summer storybook program. I had the pleasure of participating last Friday, being a guest reader and talking about town hall as well as the town of Upton in general. The ages for this program primarily 3 to 5-year-olds. They've already visited the police station, DPW, fire, memorial school, and they're finishing up with senior center staff at the community center. And lastly, I held my 3rd coffee with the town manager last Friday. Starting in September, I'm going to start bringing some guests, and Mike Antonellis, Director of Land Use, will be the first one to join me in September.
Sounds good. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
This is when I open it up for anybody who has public input.
I just have a quick question, if
Sure.
I may, first. Do we know, or can we get when Senator Fatman's office hours are, what the time is?
Sure, I'll get the time. I believe it's 9 o'clock, but I'll confirm with that.
Here in town hall.
No, at the community center.
Now I'll open up for public comment. Yes. Can you state your name for the record?
Bill and Jane Whitney, 4 Russell Ave, or 2 Russell Ave, or 1 Russell Court. Whichever you guys. I brought with me, everybody's gone down Russell Ave. It looks like an alley, and it's dangerous. We've had numerous little accidents. 2 flat tires that I've had. That's neither here nor there. Numerous discussions. Dennis has informed us that we were always next on the list to be paid. Now he says, this is the first time, the town doesn't own the land under Russell Ave. What do? So I brought in the town's listing of accepted streets, of which Russell Ave is listed from 140 to Centennial Court. We used to be 1 Russell Court, but the fire department's ambulance couldn't find a tenant. So we want to change our address to 4 Russell Ave. Well, it went to 1 and 2 and 4. Cost me a fortune in station.
Yes.
I think we can all agree that that's one of the oldest streets. We're connected by sewer, we're connected by water, we're connected by gas. But it does seem to come through, other properties, and it should have been resolved. But at least if we could get Russell Ave paved, just a skim coating, so it doesn't look, shabby. You wouldn't want to walk there at night. I brought in my little page.
We appreciate it. And
If you can Yeah,
I
there's
do
some,
know where Russell Ave is. I do believe you're right. Most people don't.
I know where it is.
Sure, I'm sure the chief is aware of it. I don't know how we handle this, Joe.
So, I've had over the last 2 years, a number of, conversations with, Harvey and can totally, understand, the concern that, he has with, the condition of the road down there. I've also talked to Dennis and I just for illustrative purposes, put this up on the screen. Okay. Looks like it should be big enough for everyone to see. So, he did engage, the services of a land surveyor. My understanding was now about 4 years ago to look into what was needed. And, had presented a plan to the, select board members at the time. I think, Brett, you were the only one on the board at that time that maybe had been here for that discussion. And one of the challenges, and Harvey actually mentioned it, was that there's section of Russell that is not laid out and is basically over private property. And that's where you see that in the middle, where you have two defined rights of way, and then in the middle of the section that connects them, there's no documented right of way. So the question then ends up being, coming back to the board, to properly lay things out will require some form of appropriation and some form of potential authorization to acquire property, and also assistance for dealing with individual property owners, because 5 Russell and 2 Russell, this goes right across their property. So is it possible to resolve it? Yes. Will it take time? Absolutely. Will it take some expense? Yes. But that's where sort of bringing it back to the board for guidance to then maybe have a subsequent meeting with Dennis to sort of go over what is needed, to then identifying those next steps, because we can't really do anything right now without authorization from town meeting. That's sort of where things are right now.
Harvey, on this plan, are you 2 Russell, the one to the left, right on the corner? Where, see, it's white, the orange kind of breaks? I can't see that far.
It's the one that is, yep, right there.
So, okay. So then it's your 2 neighbors as I look at the picture to your left, that would have to give approval to get the street repaired. We'd have to do a land taking.
So for example,
It's been there forever. I mean, full disclosure, I grew up on Depot Street. That's where all the kids were Centennial Court, so we are quite familiar with it.
So how long have the houses been there?
Since the 1800s.
Yeah.
So it's been a while.
James lived here, we're running out of, so there's another factor. James 86 has attending health issues.
Mhm.
My purpose is to keep her there as long as I can. It's healthy, but we don't have years and years.
Right.
It's been struggling along. I mean, it's makes the property that you not transfer.
Yeah, my take on this is the same as it would have been 4 years ago, which is it should have been fixed already. So can we just fix it?
Well, this goes back to.
I don't.
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff that's just like, it's a dangling part, right? Like, it just check this off the list, like.
It's in use now,
Like-
right?
It's so,
It's not gonna cost, it's not gonna cost. $1
Joe,
million.
have we ever,
It's gonna
have,
cost
so,
Like $20,000 or $30,000, like. fix it.
not only that, but
Go away.
it's been a street. People have been, and I've seen the potholes, there were potholes, kids, when I was a kid. So the question is it adverse possession? Can we ask KP Law, did we take the street by adverse possession by constantly going over it?
That, no.
No?
We, because, so adverse possession, that would be a private, private property.
We're assuming that those two homeowners have some issue with us paving the road. I'm sure they don't. I'm sure if we went to them and said, hey, can we pave this road and put this easement in there, they'd be like, yeah, pave the road. It's a road. They're not gonna say, hey, you don't have a road there. That's not a road. I want to put grass there.
And that's where, and that's where
Making this harder than it needs to be.
my understanding from Dennis is that they did do the examinations as far as what they can and can't do. And that 3 Centennial basically owns the land and to, and that's where I fully understand, like, why can't we just dump asphalt to then fix a road?
Nope, I don't think anybody's suggesting that. I think what we're suggesting is go through the administrative process to acquire the land so that we can legally pave the road.
So
And solve the problem, so that that orange line connects through the white line, so that we have an easement for the entire road. And then once we have the easement, we can pave the road.
And that's where I think maybe at our next meeting, we can have Dennis in, because that'll require bringing articles to town meeting to then get authorization
Right,
for securing land. We'll have to have appraisals done.
yes.
While we would hope property owners would gift us the land, we have to compensate them if they don't gift, and some of those property owners may require to be compensated. And
Yep.
we would have to engage services of PLS appraiser to then pull all that together.
But I think we could,
It's
since we're
administrative
talking
work, but
about
it's not glorious.
November meeting, I
wants to
think
do
we
it.
could get this
Get done.
on the warrant for November.
Well,
Thank you.
Do it.
Simple things.
Do it. You're welcome. Should have done it 4
It-
years ago. We should have done it. We're talking about this for, I remember the first time you mentioned it to me and it's,
How
so
much is he giving? You know,
that's fine. If the select board was holding it up, we're not holding it up anymore.
thank you.
Let's resolve it.
We will do this as any way we can.
Of course they will. People want the road paved.
You do have to get home.
Can I ask Joe if he could get a hold of Dennis and at least start looking at that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was the main thing. He presented the plan, and my understanding at that time, the board did not want to go ahead. But times change, and that's why
We had
Yeah.
a spectacular board now.
Ari asked, how do we get this thing going again? And I said, come to our next,
It's
Yep.
going.
come to our next.
Tell him to come prepared.
Yep, he's prepared.
He's ready. I mean, no, it's
There you
the
go.
new issue. So whatever the holdup was, let's just
Yeah.
resolve. And it's like, it's not glamorous, it's not glorious, it's not the people's favorite thing to spend money or time on, but like, we just need to check this stuff off the list.
Everybody's a taxpayer, it's fair for them taxpayers. Okay.
I got the duck, you got the
I
bird.
get you.
I feel like I'm being
Yeah.
attacked by nature over here.
Wild- Wildlife.
Okay, Quinn, did you have something you'd like to say?
Yes. Parks of 7 Pierce Lane. So what I'm coming before the board to request is a speed limit change on Pleasant Street, headed out of Upton towards Whitensville. Right now, it's presently, the speed limit sign directly across from the DPW is 45. I'm requesting that it be made 30. And the reason behind that is Pierce is filled with children, Glen has a lot of children, and there's no easy way across the bridge aside from either driving or walking it. And the path is only about that wide, and it's kind of a knuckle biter if you're on foot. So I think it would be really nice to lower the speed limit just a little bit, to give pedestrians a little bit of care when crossing that bridge. That's my whole request.
Don't you need a state approval?
Please.
What you'd have to do is a speed survey and study, and the speed limit would be set at the 85th percentile of the current speeds on that road. So we can't just change it to 30 or change, you have to do a speed survey. Unless it falls in a thickly settled district, which would be 30, anything outside of that, the specific rules, depending on how many houses are there, how the road's designed. But generally, the rule is you do a speed survey and the speed limit is set at the 85th percentile,
which I would suggest would be much higher than 30%. So
Because I know, you know, working in Whitensville, I know it's lower by the schools and I think people come out of the traffic light. And then I also know it drops at the town line because Northbridge loves to sit on the other side. You know, I know it's 40 on the other side, but that little section there is 45. And I know my concern, Quinn and I were standing out at the hazardous waste day, watching people. I noticed that students from Valley Tech are parking by the West River there. Kind of is overflow because if you don't have a parking pass, and they're walking backwards. So that is with the coming out of the light so fast. That is a safety concern. I don't know if there's anything.
the only thing we can do is to do a speed certificate study and see where it falls. Perhaps it could be lower than 40, but I would suggest probably lower than that.
Would it be possible, and I don't know the rules behind it, to move the sign to the other side of Glen?
No, I'm guessing that,
It's 30 coming into Upton.
Right.
That, like, you almost have a speed limit sign on top of the speed limit sign facing other directions. One's 30, one's 45.
it depends on what the original speed study showed. Like, we have speed studies that were done and speed limits set throughout town. So they do an engineering survey study and they tell you where the zones begin and end. So the zone may begin 100 feet beyond Maple Ave and extend to the town line. It's set based on those studies. So we'd have to go back and look at the study and probably redo it, change them. Unfortunately, it's not as easy as just changing the speed limit sign.
Well, I've gone before in the past, I went before the Historical Society, if I'm not mistaken, to see if it was possible to put a walkway on the outside of the bridge, and that sort of went nowhere, but, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably $1 million project.
Yeah, it's being expensive.
Yeah. I can certainly look at the current zoning, see how it was laid out.
That would be appreciated, thank you.
Here we go. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for coming.
You've left a great department.
Thank you.
There's an officer who grew up on our street, Corey. A great young man.
That's why I hired him.
He did good. Also, the central casting, he give you the hands around of the,
Thanks, Abby. Thanks, Jane. Have a nice night.
Night.
Okay, thanks, Quinn, for
Thank you.
coming.
Appreciate the.
I'll take a look at that if you wanna, just, you can give me a call, send me an email or something, I'll let you know.
There. Thank you.
Is there anyone online that has any public comment? I don't see any hands. Oh, would I see a hand? Okay, all right, so next, appointments and resignations, reappointments?
Followed with some candidates or some commission members that we hadn't heard from and some may have fallen through the cracks. So before you, we have appointments for conservation, open space, lakes and ponds, affordable house and mosquito control. We did receive email confirmation from them that they want to continue to serve on their respective boards. Have the names of those people who did confirm that they would like to continue on the control sheet.
Do you have any questions or comments for me? Brett,
I do not. I have the motion in front of me.
thank you.
I move that the select board vote to reappoint the following as members of the boards and commissions as follows. Alan Miano to the Conservation Commission for a 3-year term. Alan Miano to the Open Space Committee for a 1-year term. Catherine Robertson Taker to the Affordable Housing Trust for a 2-year term. David Connors and Sally Kent to the Lakes, Ponds, and Streams Committee for a 1-year term. Gavin Jones to the Mosquito and Tick Control Board for a 1-year term.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously reappointed.
So then next, I'm just going to give you a copy of this. I sent you an email that Brian Gallagher would like to be considered for select board appointee to the CPC. We currently have 2 vacancies. The one that's filled by the select board is also on the housing authority, and we're looking at basically switching her appointment to come from the housing authority. So then that would mean there would be 3 vacancies on the select board. Brian expressed willingness to serve on the CPC. They are running into an issue where the people who are participating just get them more. I did in the packet indicate that I was expecting 1 application in. Came today. Even in Brian's email that I forwarded out to you, he said if you can't consider it today, you'd be glad to be considered at the next meeting. They do have a meeting coming up tomorrow night in case the board did want to take a look at his application and consider appointment.
Brian?
Yeah. He is currently serving on the Affordable Housing Trust. And has been attending all their meetings and is actually their treasurer. And as the board knows, they had actually presented an article for town meeting for supplemental funding.
I'm comfortable moving forward. Are you comfortable?
I am.
Okay. Marie, are you comfortable?
Yes, I am.
We'll put these one at a time. Do I hear a motion?
I move that the select board vote to appoint the following as members to the boards and committees as follows. Brian Gallagher to the Community Preservation Commission for a 3-year term.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
And then on the second one, we received a letter from the MBTA advisory board. Upton, like many towns that are within the MBTA district, the chair of the select board is automatically on, and they are able to designate a designee. And from our last records, and I don't really recall when we did this, that they indicated that Brett was the current designee.
Surprise.
And so one of the things, and I looked on their list of designees very often, because this is something that it's daytime meetings out in Boston, if they're not virtual. Many towns will have the select board chair as the main member, and then the designee as the town administrator, some or town planner, some sort of staff. So we can keep it as is if the board, and because it's the MBTA, it doesn't have to be a municipal, it doesn't have to be a town resident, it can be a town official. So want to throw it out to see if one to keep it as is, and then we can confirm. Second would be that I'd be willing to be a designee so that I can attend meetings. At least then, I'd be serving in my official capacity as well.
I'm gonna send this over to Brett since he's the designee. Yeah. Apparently you were the victim somewhere.
I
along
was
the
gonna
way.
say somehow
Right.
somebody was like.
And I was like,
"What is he on there?"
I'm supposed to be the chairman. It's Brett.
Yeah, exactly.
Tonight's a good night.
I mean, maybe I was chair when it came up. I certainly don't ever remember us discussing it as a board or anyone talking to me about it. So maybe it was somebody was like, oh, just put the name in there. I don't know anything about it. How often are the meetings?
The meetings happen on a quarterly basis.
A quarterly basis? I mean, I don't mind doing it. I don't know that I could commit to being at all of the meetings, but if the meetings are critical and we should be a voice at those meetings, like, do people vote at the meetings? Does the advisory board vote, or do they just listen, or do they discuss? Or like,
They do take votes on that do affect like the long-term
so
plan.
every town must vote on the advisory.
Yeah, not every town, there's.
That has an
every
MBTA,
town.
that had, right, so there's 176 voting members of this advisory.
if you're willing to stay on the advisory board and we make
Yeah.
Joe the designee,
Yeah.
when the meetings come up, you two can decide who goes.
Exactly. 'Cause
Both
sometimes I
or
can work it,
either or.
like, I can make a
Sure.
day to work in
Yeah.
Boston, and so it could work out, so that would be fine.
Right, because then either both or one could, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Works for you two.
Yep,
That works.
good.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, want to make that motion?
So,
Move that the select board vote to appoint the following as members to the boards and committees as follows. Brett Simus as the designee for the MBTA Advisory Board for 1 year term and Joseph Layden as an alternate for a 1 year term.
Second,
That's-
that motion.
All in
Perfect.
favor?
Aye,
Aye, unanimous. Congratulations, guys.
thank you.
The look on your face, Brett, when he said that you were the appointee, you were like,
I literally was just, I thought the name coming out of his mouth was gonna be Laura. And so I was not expecting it. I was, wait a minute, I didn't do that.
can I just tell you, I thought it was gonna be Laura as well. So
Yeah.
it was you, I was like. Beautiful. Life is good.
Yeah.
Okay. So next is discussion of a request for funding and installation of bat houses from the Mosquito and Tick Board. Is there someone here to speak for that?
Yeah, this is Marcella Stasha. I sent the request in. Two other members of the Mosquito and Tick Control Board are here, Chris Scott and Elisa Burnett. And I don't know if you've had a chance to read through it, but the request was to put up to $200 into either purchasing the bat boxes, or if we can make it a scout project or something that PBT students might be up for doing, that we could maybe do a bit more with that $200. The big question is, we're asking to have the bat houses mounted on town properties. And this is just to, bring attention to them and give people an idea of one way of mosquito management, because bats are very good at managing mosquitoes. It's very limited as to where we could place them. It needs to be a sunny spot, needs to be about 30 feet high. So we're not talking about putting them on every telephone pole or anything like that. I'm thinking maybe one at Kiwanis Beach, maybe one at Memorial School. I don't know if there's a post, or a tree that might be high enough. We'd have to investigate that, but we wanted to get a feel for what your thinking on that might be. And that's the first part of our proposal. I don't know if Chris and Elisa would like to add something.
The Friends of Upton Safe Forest also set aside $200 for this project.
They're actually not. That's a different one. That's for the lawn signs. The bat boxes are a separate. These are two separate requests, really.
Okay.
One is for the lawn signs and one is for bat boxes. So we're talking about bat boxes first.
I would like to add something. We had the Upton Mosquito and Tick Control Board had a very successful program at the library in conjunction with the Upton Town Library, where we had a number of children and families come and learn more about the benefits of bats. And we were also able, through a donation, to give a person a bat house there, and it was really well received, lots of fun. So yes, we're hoping to expand on that, just to show that as a town, we're proactive in environmentally sound and beneficial policies and programs. So that's our hope.
I know personally, I have multiple bat houses on my property.
Yay!
And yay, I've had them for years. I can sit outside and I'm not carried away. And with the number of diseases mosquitoes are carrying, they're important. However, mine are mounted on my barns, my garages, and my trees. They are not mounted on my house because the Bats will take that as an invitation to move in with me. And I do not want Bats living with me. They're lovely outside, but, so if your request is to place them on town property, meaning trees, and poles, that is acceptable to me, but it would need to be consideration where they're placed, because the guano that bats produce can carry viruses and disease. So I wouldn't want it near a playground or where children could get into it, because having them on my property, there are little piles underneath, which means they're there and they're healthy. So I don't know exactly, but I would vehemently be against placing them on buildings. And as a matter of fact, I don't know if you're aware, but if the Board of Health has a report of a bat in a building, it needs to be captured, euthanized, and sent for testing because of the potential for rabies. So, you know, I do not want to increase that. It is an expense the Board of Health has. It costs about $300 a bat to send the little devils out. So, like I said, depending on where they were placed. And as far as I personally, I think it would make a great scout project.
I agree with that.
I don't know, Maureen, do you have any comments?
I agree with bat houses 100% because I also have some. And they're placed in the trees. They have to face the east so they get the sun. And I keep them as far away from my house as I can. But they do the job.
Yeah, I think those are great points and so appreciated. We agree totally. I think Marcel and Chris, we agree with that entirely. And I would think, you know, we work closely with the Board of Health. We actually have a Board of Health member who, I'm not sure who it is now, but when our committee was formed, we have a Board of Health member who is a link. So I would say that it would be a great link to work with the Board of Health for placement too.
I guess what we wanted to find out from you is is there support for putting it on town land? So it sounds like there is.
Yes.
As long as we select the sites that are appropriate and safe and won't invite bats into school buildings or other places they're not welcome. I would suggest that if you are indeed in support, that we can go ahead and identify sites and create a little map for you, and so you can give approval site by site. And if you are okay with that, then we can start talking about spending some money to either purchase bat boxes, or if it's a scout project, scouts are encouraged to fundraise for their project. So it wouldn't cost the town anything. And we could maybe make it into a more community-wide project. So that would be pretty cool.
I actually get a badge for that, don't they?
They might. I was gonna say, I know the Department of, I think it's Fisheries and Wildlife, has instructions how to build bat houses. So if the scouts reached out, it could, you know, especially if you did it even with the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts, the younger ones, teach them how, and maybe see if we could get, you know, a donation, or depending on where I don't know where the money would come from to supply the projects, but I'd like to see a little more information. But I think it would be great, because it's one thing just to hang them, but if you teach the kids, like Alicia said, the library is very well. And Brett?
I think we're all, you know, clearly supportive of putting up bat boxes in the appropriate places and ways. I'm fine with spending and committing to spending $700 for signs and bat boxes. I think we have enough. There's got to be a trust fund, so we don't have to use taxpayer dollars for this. There's plenty of trust funds for things like beautification that could fall into a category like this. So I think there's plenty of funding sources available for this, and we should proceed. I personally, if you want to see more stuff, that's great. I'm personally comfortable with you all taking the lead on identifying where they should go and working to get them put up and all that. I don't need to review the placement of every bat box in town. But if you guys want that, that's fine.
No, I think,
I'm
you know,
enthusiastically supportive of putting them up, of the work, of the signs, and of funding them with trust fund money.
I think we need to work on the funding, especially if the scouts are encouraged to fundraise for these types of projects. I think just work those little details out. And I think the Board of Health would probably like to be involved just for placement, so we know where they are. You know, I agree with Brett. I don't think the selectmen need to be involved with that, but bring it to the Board of Health and say, this is where we're thinking, because I do know, like you say, the sun, the height, they need to be dark, different things, so.
Right.
As long,
Joe?
I would just encourage that, like, if choosing locations was also coordinating with the Board of Health, just to involve Dennis Westgate, just to make sure that from maintenance standpoint, and as long as it's not on buildings.
Right.
My one concern is that with the school district, while we may own the land, they lease it and operate it. I would want to make sure they sign off. But then there may be locations where, because of proximity to field space and all that, it may not be recommended. It doesn't, there's a lot of land, but depending on Memorial versus Nipmuc, there may be some locations at Nipmuc that make sense, but maybe not in Memorial.
That makes sense. And at the end of the day, to get them up 30 feet, you might want to talk to the fire department. 30 feet's pretty high.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot higher than I thought it was.
All right, so I think your second request is a sign request, am I correct?
Correct, and that is that sort of came about because we were seeing signs, you know, when people spray their lawns, the spray companies put signs up, and we thought, well, how about the people who don't spray their lawns, and maybe they like to promote the fact that they are more pollinator friendly. And we worked with Lauren Scheuer, who created a graphic design for us. I don't know, were you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay. We we like the wording proud to be pesticide free, but we are also receiving some funding from the Friends of Upton State Forest, and their focus is more toward protecting pollinators. And so we were thinking that changing the wording so that it says pollinator friendly and pesticide free, using the same graphics. It would just be different, the text would be different. So that's part of what, you know, we welcome your input on how to word the sign. But there's also what I might be a glitch. I know that, you know, these are lawn signs, sort of like what people put out when they're running for, you know, town office, and those are only allowed to be put out for a certain amount of time, and they have to be taken down after we're done. So do these signs, are they considered more like lawn ornaments, or are they looked upon as, you know, signs? I don't know if we need to go through any processes to, you know, should you approve the, you know, the funding of this. If we go forward, do we need to talk to somebody about permitting? You know, and is that going to be a complicated thing? So I guess first of all, I wonder, you know, what your thinking is about having the signs made up at all, and if you have any thoughts on that.
Or a sign's a sign. Isn't there a 30-day limit or something?
So we have different things for political signs, but realistically, because we don't have dimensions, we don't know exactly how they're going to be sort of viewed by building. I would really bring the graphic, bring the dimensions, to the building department to then ask for guidance, just so that you hear from them, because if you are then relaying that to other people to put it in their yard, there should be guidance on how it's viewed, and maybe where it needs to be placed, or the maximum sign, so that they don't have it as 10 square feet. And but it's best to get a determination directly from the building department, so that they can make sure they're the ones that define it as a exterior sign versus a political sign. We do make a distinction between those, and it's those political signs that have that 30 days before and after. That's really more of a codification of traditions in Upton on political signs.
That's why you see us all racing around the day after the election, gathering our
Yeah.
signs.
I've
But
noticed that.
I also know that, the lawn cares and the different signs, they're not allowed to stay. And they're similar to the political signs, so I would also recommend you speak to code enforcement. Because, personally, I don't want to open up the door that, well, the town supplied some signs, so now we're all gonna have
Mhm.
signs everywhere.
Yeah. Well, just to be clear about it, they're going to be the smallest signs. I think they're 12 by 18 inches that we can get, because, it's the least expensive. So they're not going to be giant signs or anything like that. So if the building department is, the place we should go to just confirm that those are okay to put out. One other thing that the Friends of Upton State Forest mentioned is that if they're going to be putting money into it, who actually owns them? And can we take them back at the end of the summer season? And thereby we would have a limit as to how long the signs would stay. I'm assuming that the contractors who come and do lawn work and such, they leave their signs up all summer long. And I don't know if they're supposed to. They work there all summer long. So as long as they're working, they, have their signs up. So that might be one way to, make it so that, we're not overstepping the rules about how long signs can stay on people's lawns. If you have, any other thoughts about this, and I invite Chris and Elisa to add their comments, and it would be, if we could get an approval for the expenditure tonight, based on approval from the, code enforcement and building department, then we, that way we could go forward with ordering the signs. But, we just wanted to see where you're at with it. If you feel like this is a good way to spend our money.
I agree with everything Marcella has said. Marcella, are we frozen?
I think that the select board is frozen. I haven't heard any response from them.
Yeah, neither have I.
Hi, everyone. We lost internet connection here in town hall. I'm gonna just turn my computer around. The computer here in the meeting room is trying to connect,
Thank you.
and we'll get you all up and running as soon as possible, but board is here.
Okay.
Thanks, Joe.
We're glad that you didn't disappear.
No.
I don't know.
There you go.
Go.
There you are. Yay. So if you had any discussion after my last statement, we didn't hear it. So if you have anything to add, please do so.
We felt bad. We literally cut you off. The internet dropped in the middle of your sentence.
It happens.
It wasn't personal.
I didn't think so.
I think the recommendation is to talk to code about the signs, get a guidance on the signs.
Okay.
I hate to bounce people back and forth, but I also hate to violate a bylaw. Every basis.
Agreed. And I think that we can work with that by removing the signs at the end of the season, if that is agreeable to people. But we will definitely talk with building department and see what the rules are, and we'll abide by whatever rules they spell out for us. And if it seems like something we can work with, we would just, I don't know if we need to come before you again to get the go-ahead if that does take place, but if we could, have the funding approved pending approval from the building department, then we could, hopefully move forward with it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, the signs, Marcella, I know you said that Friends of Upton State Forest are willing to donate 200. Is it something where you could charge a nominal fee? So if each, I know when you do your political signs, you have to order X amount. Is it something where if they were like $5 each, you could order the $200 worth and keep it rolling? Or how many are you planning on ordering?
So my view on there, well, go ahead. And I'll share my opinion.
I don't know how many you're planning on ordering.
We were planning on ordering 100. That's sort of where the price break makes it, I think I don't remember exactly what the cost per sign is, but it's like somewhere between $2 and $3, which seemed, it's one-sided. It's, seemed like the least expensive way to go about it. And to get as much bang for the buck. If we order, say, 50, we're paying more per sign. So 100 is a price break number. So that's what we were planning on.
I think if
Right.
we charge people for the signs, we have to talk to King Costa for opening up an account, doing in and take out.
I'm sorry, Chris, I didn't catch that.
If we charge for the signs, we would need to talk to King Costa for opening up an account, put the money into the
Okay.
account.
Oh no, not another.
Okay, so that
didn't
may
even
turn
think of
into a
that.
logistical nightmare. Yeah. Okay, Brett?
We manage a $26 million a year budget, and I think that we all agree that the signs are an idea that is a great idea, and we can work with the building department to put them up. I agree with all that. We want to make sure that the town's not associated with giving residents signs that then the town is complaining about in some way, shape, or form. So obviously that needs to be taken care of. I think that as a board, we can just agree, my recommendation would be to agree to provide whatever funding is required for 100 signs. It says $400 or $500 for 100 signs. We have several trusts available, I'll repeat it, that aren't taxpayer dollars. This is $500 we're talking about, and for us to really belabor this, doesn't seem like the best use of our times, in my humble opinion.
Okay, thank you.
That's all. Thank you.
For example, beautification, which if the board defines what beautification is. So that would be one of the ones that would be able to be.
And there's a trust that exists for any purpose that we deem appropriate, that has a little bit of money in it. Like if it was $50,000 or $10,000 or $5,000 or $1,000, that's one thing. It's $500. There's citizens trying to do something that's good for the community and positive for the town. Let's encourage people to do things that are good.
If there's a trust fund that we can do that from, those trust funds are set up legally.
There's several of them.
Yes, there are, and I'm just saying, as long as we find the one that will support getting the
agree.
funds out of the trust fund.
Agreed.
That's all I'm saying.
And I think, am I correct, Marcella, you're just really looking for $200 for signs because Friends of Upton State Forest are matching the 200, am I correct?
Yes.
I think as long as we can find the appropriate trust fund, I don't know what all that, we have multiple. Like Joe said, it could be beautification. So please talk to code and then coordinate with Joe.
That will require having it back in front of the board as an
Okay.
agenda for, to vote to take it out of that fund. But that would be administrative at best.
I would find the.
That works. So if you can talk to code and then it'll be simple, because they're gonna need to be ordered anyhow. So we can just take a vote when we figure out where they come from.
Okay. Sounds like
We
a plan.
appreciate you coming. Do you have anything else for us tonight?
Only that I guess West Nile virus, there's some mosquitoes that tested positive in nearby communities. I don't know if Upton has had that happen, but
Upton has not.
gotta stay on top of it and tell people that they need to protect themselves.
Yes, Upton has not tested positive, but as I like to tell people, the mosquitoes do not know where the town lines are. So there were some in Grafton recently. So yes, and you can go on the Mass Department of Public Health website and it does list the towns. And they do change it every day about 3 o'clock, I get a notice. So,
But
Okay.
it's important for us to stay on top of that and make sure that the public gets as much information as we can give them about how to take care of, do personal protection to keep those bugs away. So thank you
That's
very
what
much for
you're
your
on.
time. We really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
thank you. Have a nice
Thank
night.
you so
You
much.
too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So next is vote to open special town meeting warrant on Wednesday, August 7th. Do I hear a motion?
I move that the select board vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 39, Section 10, and Town Code Chapter 100, to open the warrant for the Tuesday, November 12th, 2024 special town meeting on Wednesday, August 7th, 2024, and to close said warrants on Friday, September 6th, 2024 at noon. Said special town meeting to be held at Nitbuck Regional High School, 90 Pleasant Street, Upton.
Do I hear a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Next is discussion of the Town Manager Act Review Committee recommendations. Joe, are you going to present or
Yeah,
we all seem to be?
I had to re-download because when everything crashed. Continuing from our last meeting where the Town Manager Act Review Committee presented their recommendations. The next step for the board would be to discuss whether or not any of these in part or in whole would be something that you'd like to be able to put on the fall town meeting warrant. Yeah, it was the recommendation from Bob Fleming, who was chair of the committee, to go forward with all the recommendations, including the rewrite and reorganization. But that's a recommendation to the board. So if there are things you want to pull apart, focus on, this is now sort of the board's call what to do. And it rests with the board as far as then bringing this before town meeting. So I know from the last meeting, there was discussions as far as how do we address staff with elected boards. And then there was also an issue that Lynn Haggerty had raised as far as the Town Managers Act, referring to an ADA director. Regarding the first thing with elected boards, it was my recollection that Bob Fleming had recommended having broad language within the act and then working through some other means to then define how things operated. I had used an example from a prior town of using an MOA between elected boards to define what that role and relationship is. That's something that I'm developing a model so that at a subsequent meeting, we can look to see how to pull that together. But that would be really if the board wanted to go in that direction of that recommendation on the town meeting warrant. Also, if the board wants more time, we have annual town meeting next year to also consider these things.
I know that, I've read it. They did a great job, but it's hard for me to track what was before and what was now. So for example, in rereading it, I think the DPW director served at the pleasure, or I don't remember the right words, of the select board. And am I correct that he's now, I'm not sure if I'm reading it correctly, that he's now directly under you?
That when the Town Manager Act, because the DPW Act was before, that was 1989, restructuring. All those HR departments got transferred and delegated over to the town manager as part of the Town Manager's Act.
Okay, these are the things that weren't clear to me, and this is, the first time I've dealt specifically with it. I do like the memorandum of understanding for the elected boards, because I think every department is a little different. So
How a special act can be turned over?
That's,
That hasn't changed. That's the act that the town clerk has.
yeah.
As far as the DPW.
But then it's a special act amending a special act that then the select board identified authority and then decide to delegate that authority.
Not the way it's read. He just comes under the Department of Public Works. Where he's specifically fitted by education, training, and experience to perform the duties of his office as chairman of Congress shall be determined by the Board of Selectmen. And he shall serve at the pleasure of the Board of Selectmen and shall not be subject to the provisions of section 9A, chapter 30, or chapter 31 of the general laws. That just got changed recently. I got the town manager from the town clerk.
The only thing that changed recently was the 5 years, 3 to 5 years. The Town Managers Act is where the following responsibilities authorities shall devolve from the board to the manager. So the town managers came after the DPW Act. So then all of the hiring, firing, disciplining employees that doesn't fall under elected boards, that devolves to the town manager. And that's how that's how things have been operating since 2008 when the town retained its first town manager.
Why would they leave that act? When somebody requests the town manager's act, it comes with that special act for the DPW director. Comes with the town manager's act, the recall for elections.
So my thought is that the amendment that happened to the acts of 1989, it was specific to the period of time for contract. That was all that was amended by that. Looking through. That's all that was amended. What was it, 2019 when the DPW Act was amended? Just literally saw that as I was going through.
I mean, this shouldn't be passed out and just if it's amended and it devolved to the town manager, then that's all that should come up is the town manager's act.
Maybe I'm missing what you're in the proposed revisions that the Town Managers Act Committee identified. Is there something you're pointing to, or are you just pointing back to?
No, this is what I was emailed for the town manager's act. It came, the special act, it came the town manager's act, the recall election act. I just did that about 2 months ago.
I don't know what you're talking. There was a document that the Town Manager Act Review Committee came here to our last meeting and made series of recommendations about changes to the Town Manager Review Act.
Right.
So if we're gonna have a conversation, we should be looking at that document and those recommendations.
We are,
And-
It shouldn't come with the town manager's act when it was
What shouldn't come with the Town
a
Manager's Act?
special act for the public works director. You're saying that devolved to the town manager. Why, when you request the town manager's act, does it can't? That's the very first thing on the town
Who
manager's
did you
act.
request the Town Manager Act from?
Town clerk.
when we appointed if I remember correctly, when we reappointed the Town Managers Act Committee, we all looked at the original Town Managers Act.
Yes.
And there was a DPW Act and then there was the Town Managers Act.
Two separate.
I believe so.
They are. They're
Okay.
totally different
Yeah,
acts.
so, but
Because
my
the
question
DPW
was,
also.
so that's me when we got it, and then I was the one that, had them all edited the Town Managers Act. The committee took over. So my question was, my understanding of that was, well, DPW is over there and somehow he's separate from town manager. If that's changed, that's changed, but that was my original understanding that there were two separate things. So that was my question, was the DPW, and I don't remember where we left the language about ADA, whether it was director, facilitator.
Yeah.
or-
So,
So
just-
it wasn't clear when I reread it if things have been changed after our discussion.
So just about there is no such title as ADA director. You look through statutes, there's not. The only thing that is identified is ADA coordinator. I view ADA director as a position that really reflects who has authority to determine who the ADA coordinator is and how to comply.
Yeah, because I know
That-
what.
so we don't have it.
We said, I wasn't sure if any changes were made.
We don't have a job description
Okay.
for an ADA director. I view it as that the town manager is responsible for basically ensuring ADA compliance, and that's why it says director. You could actually just delete that and not even include it, because realistically, ADA is a state and federal, it's federal law. We have to comply with ADA, and part of the town manager's responsibility is to make sure all federal, state laws as well as local laws are adhered to. So realistically, you could delete it and it doesn't mean anything. Because realistically, I could at any point designate a different employee, the ADA coordinator.
Right.
Make the change to the job description and say, no, I don't want it over at ES, I want it over in building. It's the town manager's authorization to be able to do that. And that's how I view that term, ADA director. That ultimate responsibility rests with the town.
If it reads better, to take it out because that's part of your job duties anyhow.
Yeah, it's the same thing. The last part of that also says affirmative action. Affirmative action.
Affirmative action program and ensures
Officer.
compliance with state and federal law.
Yeah, an affirmative action officer. Those are all, one, we don't really use the terms. They've been updated
Right.
as state and federal laws have evolved. That, town doesn't have an affirmative action plan. Now we have a equal hiring and public and personnel policies that address it. That whole sentence could come out and it doesn't impact the town of Upton in one way or the other.
To me, I'd rather take them out to be consistent with what the law is and what your
Right.
job is, and it's,
Yeah.
and why be redundant? I mean,
Yeah.
we do this every 5 or 6 years. It's been 7, I think, so.
Yeah.
Let's just update it and remove those two.
Yeah, on that, that's where I would just recommend deleting it because it's covered by other things saying, responsibility. Getting back to the DPW, I guess what I'm missing is, how that falls in with the Town Manager Act Review Committee's recommendations, because it should already be a settled understanding that DPW reports to the town manager.
It's unclear if somebody is looking it up. That special act first, I'd rather just see it, like Larson, I'd rather just see the town manager act and be done with it. It should have been taken out of there a long time ago.
That component should have been,
Yes.
So while we do this, before we load the new town managers act underneath the special director of the,
it's not this summer,
oh, I don't know what it's called.
not related,
I'm having a brain fart.
yes.
So if that's not supposed to be there, because it got rolled into the town manager, take it out.
Yes.
So there's somebody else for the town manager act, they don't get that.
So that's where the.
Because that's where I was confused when I went through.
The
and-
further-
It sounds like that's like, is there some technical thing I'm missing here? It sounds like Denise just should, if someone asks for the town manager act, she should send them the town manager act.
It's all connected.
But it's all connected.
It's all
They're
one.
not. So
Because when this whole
What do you-
thing
when you say
started,
special
we got
act?
this whole thing.
That's all I asked for was the town manager's.
What do you mean they're connected? I don't know what
No.
that means. Did you send Denise an email? You asked for something. She
I
sent
know.
you,
When we
she sent you extra stuff. She should have just sent you the town manager act and it would have, none of this conversation would be happening. Am I wrong? I mean, what am I missing?
That's
No.
what I'm saying. That's why I was confused.
Right. So we just need to tell Denise that if someone asks for the town manager review act, she should just send them the town manager review act.
But if the previous DPW act has been void.
it has,
it
it's
has-
not because also that act rescinded any authority for the road commissioner, superintendent of water, sewer, tree, cemetery, parks, recreation boards, and then reconstituted the park and rec to only focus on programs. It reconstituted the cemetery commission to only determine eligibility rates and charts. So it took all these appointed and elected positions, basically said, you're done and over with. We are putting all those authorities for managing our resources for those into DPW, and then brought back rec, cemetery, and then did allow the select board on an as needed basis to do a DPW advisory committee, which my understanding maybe happened the first couple of years, but then that's not been something that's been.
So if there's a.
No,
there's a-
I just want to make sure that Joe's on the right thing. If there was this act, it consolidated a lot of things, but it was confusing to me because when I first read the town managers act, when we appointed the committee, it looked like they were two separate animals. And then it looked like it, because I just said it, excuse me, I'm not done. The beginning of this was that, we made some changes and I said, I'm having a hard time tracking the changes because, for example, I thought it was separate. So now Joe is saying that that special town manager, DPW act rolled all of those other job functions to Dennis's position. And then Dennis is now under the town manager, am I correct?
That they rolled those all into the Department of Public Works.
Yes.
And then Dennis, through his job description, then becomes that director.
Okay,
And that's where, like, his job description, you look at the DPW Act, it says facilities. It was never in his job description. So that's why we sort of lumped it under, because make it consistent with the act. But that stands along by itself because that was back done in 89. So it's a precursor of some of the reorganization the town did. And then you have the Town Manager Act coming in where the select board basically said, we're taking all of these supervisory roles we used to do and then bringing that over to town manager. So they're related in that you can't have one without the other, but there's separate pieces because the function really is on avoiding all those other committee roles because they were all assumed by the DPW department as a whole.
that's where I was confused, and that's why I didn't know if, not knowing that component of it, I was thinking just get scooted out, so that's why the two documents come together. Because,
I think she just may have copied every single special act to make sure we had it all.
Denise wouldn't do that. She would give you specifically what you asked for, I'm sure. I don't think she would just lump everything together. Unless they have it in the system now. That if you do one, you do them all. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think with those, you know, I don't know what the feeling of the board is. I mean, I'd like to take those two lines out about the ADA and I have it highlighted. The second one we mentioned, let me find my highlight.
It was all one sentence within the.
There was like 6 and 7, yes, exactly. Yeah, the ADA coordinator and director, it's under HR. Boy, I'm having, I didn't think there's, there it is, it's that blue line. The affirmative action. So since those are moved, we should take those 2 lines out, I believe.
I don't think it matters one way or the other because there's no such,
There's no such animal, so why are we including it in the act?
and it would all be under, it would fall under
Take it out.
my responsibility anyways.
Even taking those 2 things out, Maureen? That works. Okay. Was there any other issues with the act or? Maureen,
I
are you?
didn't see any.
No, okay. I received the satisfactory explanation. So if we're all good. So now we need to put this on the November warrant so it can be approved and sent to the AG. Am I
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So this would be seeking town meeting's authorization to amend the special act to basically replace what is there with.
Okay.
And then that's what is there.
I think we make those 2 changes. I'm happy.
Yeah, and the town manager, presumably the town manager act review committee would present and say,
Think they,
we went through this process, we looked at all these other towns, this is pretty standard, this is what we're doing, we're creating consistency.
and that will then also give us the next 2 months to work with individual elected boards and committees to draft MOAs that then, because we want everyone to be on the same page going in, and that the MOAs are able to be amended so that as things change, as the town changes, we can amend it versus having to do legislation.
That makes it much easier. Otherwise, it's too onerous and nothing gets changed.
Yeah.
Well, I'm good with that. If we're all happy with that, we'll move on to potential articles for special town meeting.
So this is a list I'm tracking currently. And basically want to get ideas as far as adding to it from the board. Special town meeting, it's more of a cleanup, things that are quicker. These are things that we've had discussions over the last 6 to 9 months. The first 4 articles are really just dealing with contract settlement and for our subsequent, say, August and September meeting, coming up with how we want to deal with the compensation plan. So these will be basically just the first 4 boilerplate articles that then we would provide more detail as we start settling contracts. For example, DPW is not only DPW, but then also water and impacts water and sewer. So 3 of those are impacted by just one union negotiation. Number 5 is something that I include an email from Kenny identifying that we need to set up this special revenue fund for opioid settlement receipts. We had Bill Taylor come in talking about Green Committee is looking for streetlight conversions and that there may be a $3,000 to $6,000 match that we do need to come up with funding for. The COA is going to be coming forward with a request for some form of minivan to be funded to supplement their van. The amount of, and I think I even discussed this a year ago with the board.
Yes.
They're seeing such a big increase, and then it takes one person with a medical ride going out to Milford, Natick, Worcester, that then takes it off the road. And also that large van for then one person for a medical appointment, it's just not efficient. Even if we didn't have other drivers, it would be more efficient using a smaller vehicle for those types of transportation. And we can build out more of a volunteer base for supplementing some of our drivers.
And so did you see the Tri-Valley van? There's now a grant program.
They've been doing that. They have been doing that for the last 2 years. And under our prior ESS director, we were making those connections, but also you were only allowed so many times. The amount of advanced notice you need to be able to provide, they weren't very reactionary as far as doctor's office contact to reschedule, and then it's like, okay. So it definitely, and that's why also ESS as well as a town planner are looking, continuing to look at, and it will be for some future meeting, about utilizing the ride through MBTA, because we are an MBTA community, to supplement some of those as well. So a lot of these can be leveraged to really pull things together. So that's one of them. I had brought forward, when we had men's club here, brought forward a proposal from a sign company that basically was for replacement of the existing sign would be about $65,000. To refurbish the existing sign is $50,000. The men's club had said that they would provide a donation. We would have to request a donation, but they sort of ballparked around $15K. So that is something that I'd like to I'll put on for another agenda and give you back the specifications so we can decide which direction to go. And that way I can have a vote from the board to make an official request from the men's club for funding. And then do the delta at town meeting. We have, I'm looking at having the engineers come in to talk about the resurface reconfiguration of town hall parking lot as well as the parklet. This is just putting it on the list. Hopefully we can have a dollar amount that maybe we can get funding for that. That is something that we've been waiting for a number of years. I know that's something that's been talked about. You have,
I think of those as 2 separate things, because I know this says resurfacing and reconfiguration of town hall parking lot, but that's separate from the parklet, which would be a separate funding conversation.
correct, exactly.
Making sure that.
Yep.
Is that all, the land all squared away now? They had some.
Over there was an issue as far as property line, there ended up being more from the church. The church is willing to enter into an agreement for use, but it really depends on how we pull together funding, because to do a parklet where it's $300,000, that may not be a priority. That may be a grant application to try to seek funding later on down the road.
But the parking lot, I really want to get that
Yes.
done. and
They
get
all
that
the
constructed.
things out of it.
Thank you.
Can I just tell you, Brett, when I saw the pollinator picture, I was like, I wonder if she can paint those for Brett.
I hate them on the bins.
And I can tell you, every time I think of you when I see them.
I don't know.
We all have a trigger.
I was literally that was the word that was in my head. I'm like, I don't know why. I don't know why. It's like spending a half an hour talking about spending $500. One of my triggers. I'm sorry. I don't know why. I'm trying to get over
It's
it.
kind of like
That's why.
yellow Jersey barriers, $500.
$500, but
We just like to make you twitch. Where can we put the produce in the bottom of the chair?
You said that. Thank you. Yeah, that would be nice to get rid of that.
Now that we've totally broken your train of thought, Joe, keep going.
The next article, you already heard from Chief Bradley for making up the difference for the radio system infrastructure. There's on Starter Street, there's the small house that sort of fell down. But what happens is on Stoddard, the right of way goes like this, then into the house, literally to their front steps, like this for about 15, 20 feet, then back out and then continues on.
Very odd. Yeah.
So this idea is to basically just,
It was originally like somebody did that for some reason, but
Well,
I don't.
didn't they say they, like in Boston, they paved the cow path? So maybe there was a drunken cow there,
Right.
or there was a well or
Right.
God knows.
I'm
somebody.
picturing like they could. I
The
don't know,
barn
like a
door
loading
was
dock
on
type
that
thing,
side.
right? Like a loading
Yeah.
dock truck or something went to the
Something,
barn,
yeah.
something.
so basically just to even that off and donate, but that's something we're working through with the attorney. I don't know if there's going to be a zoning bylaw for small cell. And then you have MBTA communities that they may or may not be right. I did talk to Laura about cemetery commission and whether or not we want to do anything. I have a question into town council because depending on what we can do, legislation identifies we can appoint authority, we can designate certain committees, including assessor, cemetery, but the statute says annual town meeting. So I want to know can that happen in a special? So I have that question out to town council, whether or not we want to make a change from, with the cemetery commission from elected to appointed.
Yeah.
Or the board is also able to assume responsibilities itself and to become, say, a cemetery commission.
Because with Dennis mapping everything and us getting
Yeah.
everything computerized done, really the only thing the cemetery commission is doing is approving the sale of lots. There's a requirement that you need to be a town resident, X, Y, and Z,
Yeah,
and sell in perpetual care.
yeah.
DPW does everything else, so it's really more of a financial, I was talking to Joe about it, it's more of a financial position. So, and,
I see.
we have people running, but if it's all finances, maybe it's,
Not what it used to be.
no, it's not. It's very, very
Needs have
different.
changed.
The needs have
Yeah.
changed. They're not interacting with, they're not necessarily
It's almost like a
interacting with people.
Business clerk, finance kind of
Yeah.
role.
Yes,
And
yes, kind of like when we
You don't need a
changed
commission.
town.
You don't
No.
really need a commission to do
No.
it.
No, you don't need a commission to do it.
I mean, even all the lot numbers and everything should.
There are-
Everything is,
Every other town.
everything is going to be,
That
Dennis
process.
is used to that, and it's just a matter of,
Yeah. I mean, Glenn and a handful, not Glenn and a handful, there were several people, I know Glenn was at one of them, Glenn Fowler, I remember him walking me through all the documentation and what they had and the records and how they were trying to make it better, because obviously it used to all just be cards and paper and deeds, and it was just wild.
I still
They made
have
it so
an
much better.
index card
Yeah.
from when my parents bought the lot. Yes,
Exactly.
exactly.
And so,
Yes, they've done a tremendous job.
yeah,
But I think with us,
Yeah.
you know, now
Technology's
DPW is in
changing,
charge,
things
it's
changing,
changed with
Yeah.
what we did last November.
Yeah.
It may make sense, and I asked Joe if we could, if we were gonna change it from
Got it.
elected to appointed, I said it makes sense to do it in November, because of course our elections are.
Yeah.
Right, so you don't want somebody running and us changing at town meeting, oh, by the way, you don't have to run that.
Yeah.
So,
I'm getting that guidance from town council because, they're, after our discussion, I started looking to see, okay, what is the mechanism, what's needed?
Yeah.
And that's when it just says at an annual town meeting, or it says petition. But the board can put things on a special town meeting by itself. It doesn't need, a petition of residents. So I'm just getting clarification from him procedurally. And if it's, can happen first question, but it's one of those things that, you know, when you look at the DPW Act and you identify exactly what they should be doing, at some point, we're gonna get to the point where we're like, this is all you do, everything else is over here. And all that is determining eligibility and then overseeing sort of like the funding, the expenses and, for, making sure that the funds are being like managed, which we have the trust fund commissioners as well. And they're investing all the town's dollars and loans, as well as the treasurer collector. So at some point, we're gonna end up making changes, and realistically, no time better than the present to start to make changes.
Yeah. Reconcile once a year, and that's not Kenny's fault, that's obviously.
Yeah.
Banks have these master trusts, but they put everything in one statement, and then each one is broken down.
Yeah.
With interest for each one of them every month, and
Yeah.
they become part of the reconciliation process.
Yep. So the question ends up being, is there anything else we want to have? I mean, we have,
the only thing worth noting from my perspective, because it was voted on at town meeting, is the burying of the utilities in the town center. I know you're working with National Grid to try, and like, it's just probably not gonna be ready. But that's something that I don't want to lose sight of that, because
Right.
people spoke very clearly about it. It was obviously controversial, but.
Yeah. No,
Town
I
meeting-
mean, that-
town meeting
that's-
voted to
it's-
do
it's
it
a-
and proceed, so we should.
I'll definitely, for keeping track of it, include it on the list, because as we go through the month of August and come in, because we will be meeting before it closes as well. And
And
we have
and
it.
right, like, and
I'll be able to,
part of the reason time was of the essence is because they're gonna start that project at some point. So the window's gonna close very quickly to our ability to do anything.
Yeah.
Right? All of a sudden, if they say, hey, you know what, it's spring of 26, we're gonna start doing the paving, and we're like, oh, wait, we haven't gotten the approval to figure out what we're doing or not doing yet.
anything else you can think of you want on the?
Not off the top of my head right now.
and you can also just send me an email, hey, this popped up, and we can add it to the,
In the morning.
to the list.
Send you a text message.
You responded to like an email, I get up bright and early at like 5 or 6, and you had responded at like 1:30, I was like, seriously?
Every now and then I wake up, I'm like, oh, all right, I gotta do it. I don't always want to.
The first.
So we do have Katie and Tanya waiting in executive session,
Okay.
so.
So, I assume there's no minutes. Okay, so, do we close this and move into executive session?
Yes.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to close?
Have we got the motion?
Yep.
I move that the select board vote to enter into executive session. Want to, 1, review executive session meeting minutes for approval, and 2, pursuant to Mass General Law 214, Section 1B, and Mass General Law, Chapter 4, Section 7, Clause 220-26C, to discuss financial assistance to residents in need and not reconvene in open session.
Second,
Roll call vote.
Maureen Dwinell.
Simus, aye.
Laura have I.
Maureen's email out.